I think I'm more aware than ever how I'm spending my time, which is really interesting.
Congratulations. I am not.
Really? Oh, that's surprising. Okay.
I feel like I should know. If you look at my calendar, you can kind of take a peek, but
Oh, I don't know why that's so shocking to me. Wow. Well, that's just not what I expected you to say at all.
I just derailed this whole episode.
No, no, you're good. No, and I think part of it is I've had several people, mentors, come to me and mention, like, how are you utilizing your time and is it being the most effective? And for a lot of years, I wore too many hats in the
Mhm.
business. And because of that, I was really not able to sit in what I do best. And so we've been through this really unique season where we've been hiring a lot, and I have more help than I've ever had. But it's allowed me more time than I've ever had to really rethink how I'm spending the time I do have. Instead of it all being filled with, this is the necessary thing to just keep going,
Sure.
I've been able to choose more about what that looks like. Now, am I still working a lot? Yes. Like, this is definitely not a slow season by any
Nope.
means. But I have been able to really dig into um, a time where I can be really intentional. And so I actually started reading, well, I've already finished it. I finished this book on recommendation from a friend, um,
Mhm.
The Five Choices, The Path to Extraordinary Productivity. Now, if you have seen the Eisenhower principle before, the Eisenhower quadrant, then you've probably been exposed to a similar concept. The Covey company, Franklin Covey, and his like team of researchers kind of expanded upon the same thought, but essentially all your time goes into these four buckets. And I I really started thinking about, where was I spending it? And so much of my time was being spent in this, like, unfortunately, even though we have a culture of there's no emergencies
Mhm.
and blah blah blah, a lot of it was, it has to be done now. This is important, this is urgent. And I wasn't able to spend adequate time planning and like thinking about the future and vision casting and all of the things. So it was interesting because I don't believe 100% of what's said in the book, but that's not the point. And that's why I love reading books, because you get to like disseminate what works for
Mhm.
you. Um, but it did get me to start thinking about, how can I allow for those urgent, kind of important things that come up, and not let them eat every inch of my day. And
Yeah.
so part of me has been a bit more boundary centric around, okay, I'm going to protect these couple hours to really work on this strategy or this concept or this thing. But the
Mhm.
interesting thing has been attempting, I wouldn't say I've mastered it by any means, but attempting to teach this concept to our team.
Mhm.
And I think some have grasped it a little better than others, but partially that's because their roles are really different. And so you're naturally going to have some people in your business that are really task centric. And
Yeah.
but if you can move more people to this like outcome based philosophy, I think it's really interesting what's possible. But I it's been fun to watch. We have someone on our team that I like exposed this concept to, and she started protecting an
Mhm.
hour and a half of her day, and like the things I'm seeing as a result of it, it's been really cool. Like, because they're not necessarily things we've asked of her or things we've like put on her plate, but she sees them as important based on her role.
Yeah.
And so a lot of this relates to the things we're going to be chatting about today. But I think being aware of how you're spending your time and protecting it is such a unique It's not unique. It's such a common strategy that we like know that works, but
Yeah.
we get so busy that we forget to prioritize it. And so like let this be your reminder to go back to that.
Well, and I think, hearing you kind of describe it like that, it maybe answers why I feel like I don't have an understanding of where my time is going. Because it's not like I don't know. I could list you all the things that I do every single day and throughout the week. I think what I'm realizing literally in this conversation is that in order for me to feel like I'm visioning and thinking ahead and getting to sit in that future strategy seat is to be way more ahead in all of my other tasks than I currently am. And part of that is just in the season of what we're doing right now at work.
Mhm.
We're in the middle of a promotion, and sometimes that has us thinking light on our feet and making some adjustments. And so I feel like when I'm forced to be in the day to day, I feel like the visioning gets put aside.
Mhm.
And if I can't get enough ahead, then I like you're feeling behind, obviously. And so I think I'm looking at it now as like, okay, how can in and out of a promotion can I honor that space of thinking ahead?
But I'm wondering if it's more of a cycle. Like I think you're discounting that it has to be you're this ahead all the time. And
For sure.
I feel like part of being self-aware is setting up a plan and then executing on the plan and like setting up a new plan and executing on the plan.
Mhm.
And it's more cycles than it is I'm always 2 weeks ahead and I'm always a
No,
quarter
sure.
ahead. Like I mean that would be nice, but I think all of us are running small businesses that are busy and like there's a
Mhm.
lot of things going on and to always be in that super like I don't know. To me, it just reminds me of like a CEO that's like always on a yoga trip and like, what the fuck are
Right.
you ever even doing? Like, you know what I mean?
But what
Like,
it's having me ask myself is, do we think that because I think at times in our business, you and I have both been in the visioning and strategic thinking a little bit more open space, but more often than not in the last like couple years, it's been one or the other. It's not been both of us at the same time.
mhm,
And I'm interested to continue the experiment of noticing that those similarities.
that we switch off.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I was, yeah.
And I don't know if that's just a like, that's also the nature of close relationships, right? Where, and we've talked about how we've kind of looked at things that are typically reserved for marriage advice and personal
Yeah,
relationship advice and applied it to
it
us here
applies to our
because it
business
applies
a
a lot,
lot.
right? And one of the things that really, and this was a couple years ago that I heard this, but it was something about, everyone always says marriage is 50-50. It needs to be 50-50. It's 50-50. Well, that's a load of shit. Like sometimes marriage is 90-10. Sometimes it's 120 and 0. Sometimes it's 60-40. It fluctuates. There's going to be someone who's like helping lift the other person up and being more supportive or more whatever that person needs at that time. And then the roles might reverse and then it kind of evens out and it changes. And it can never really be this like 50-50 split perfectly. We're both doing exactly what we should be doing all of the time.
Hmm.
And I think I've really taken that into our relationship here too. But what's interesting is like sometimes in my personal relationship, it feels like, okay, we're level, like we're both kind of 50-50 right now. That feels really good, but it doesn't necessarily last forever. And so I'm interested to see that kind of mirrored back in our relationship here.
Yeah, and I also think part of that is, I mean, if you're relating it to other relationships, I would imagine that it's easy to have it feel a certain way because of the things you tend to value. So like
Sure.
for instance, like in your marriage, if one of you is really like a service oriented person and like you feel love based on acts of service, then you're going to feel more in alignment when the person is like actively doing a lot.
Right.
And so I think if you are mindful of that in your working relationships, regardless if you have a business partner or not, it may seem like certain people are doing more than others, but we forget that like we forget it until we're the one in it, but like visioning is heavy lifting. It just doesn't
Yes.
always look like
Yes.
something.
100%. Yes.
And so it can be like, what the fuck did that person do this week? And
Oh,
then
yeah.
like a month from now, you're like, oh. Like,
Right. Well, and I think, I mean, just talking about visioning in and of itself, like it's, in my opinion, it's rare to put a direct KPI result on an exact like vision time. Like on that Tuesday when
oh,
you had 4 hours to
no,
whatever, like
no.
that, quit expecting those results from those kind of behaviors.
Mm-mm.
You can see it more in the sense of like you clocked in and you wrote this many blog posts or whatever your thing
Yeah.
is, right? Like whatever the thing on your to-do list is, you reached out to this many potential clients. And that's a very clear thing that you can measure. And I think it is sometimes difficult as the founder and the CEO. And that's actually one of our points today too. And I want to talk more about it, but to put the same value on the other things, even for yourself, even if you're the only one doing either of the
100%.
things.
Yeah. No, it can, and I think you can weight one or the other. And it's,
Yes.
and I think for both of us, because even though I think we've fluctuated in and out of this and we've talked about beers and doers, we were born doers.
Yeah.
And so like, even if we've gone into seasons where we had to feel a certain way to like move forward, by
Mhm.
nature, because we're doers, we tend to value action. And
Well, and
so,
in times of stress, that's where we go back to. It's like, what can I
yes.
get done? What have I achieved? What can I check
Mhm.
off?
Yeah, what can I do about the
Yeah.
situation?
Yeah.
Because you're like, what is thinking gonna do for this? Like,
What do I need to feel to make this be better? I need to feel tipsy in a hot tub is what I need to feel,
I mean, you're not
which
wrong.
I have.
You're not wrong. But I think it's, you got to be aware of what that does for you and like
Yeah.
what your habits tend to slip into. And um I don't say, even though I'm more hyper aware than ever about where my time is going, I wouldn't say I feel good about every day or like
No.
every decision I made or,
I feel like every week we sit and chat and we're like, oh, I would love to change this about our schedule.
yeah, I mean, but even still, I somehow, Monday and Tuesday feel crazy. And then by Friday afternoon, I'm like, damn,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
like
Same.
every week. Like,
Mhm.
and so I think we just totally discount it in the moment. And so we kind of have to move
100%.
through it.
Well, we
And
are the queens of anticipatory stress and
God,
anxiety, and
it's
that comes with
literally,
anything.
it will kill me.
We were joking about there was just a hard thing that we were going through a couple weeks ago, and we were texting each other, and it was literally the like, why do I feel this way? Why am I the way that I am? And then I said something back, and Abby was like, why are you that way? Why are we this way? Like, why are we this way together?
I'm like, why do we both want to feel like vomiting? Like,
Yeah.
we literally have no control over it. We don't even know if it's true.
And
Like,
guess what? A couple weeks later, we found out like there was nothing to even like vomit about.
no,
Spoiler alert.
it was all in our head.
All in our heads. Ha!
Thank God. But
God.
still, you just be surprised the shit you talk yourself into. Especially if you are naturally prone to
Anxiety.
anxiety or depression,
Second guessing
or
yourself.
if you perhaps have some trauma from your past, and Emily and I'll be like, is that a trauma response?
Is that, do I believe this because?
So we both like ask that of each other more often than I probably would admit. But
Well, and what's funny too is like we're at least self-aware to be like, yep, it is, and yep, I still feel it.
and I can't
Here
change
I
it in
am.
this moment, but at least I'm going to acknowledge that this is why it's
Yeah.
happening, and
Yeah.
I can move through that place.
Yeah.
Being,
Let's talk about more trauma responses
I
that you
well,
might be doing.
before we get into your guys's ish,
Yes.
because that's what we're going to do here in a second,
Mhm.
I do want to do a little housekeeping and share about, if you've been living under a rock and you haven't seen the incredible conference we've been putting together for you, like
Yeah.
for you,
For you.
then where have you been? And please go to bossproject.com/conference right now and check
Yeah.
out the Freedom Conference. I don't think I know people are like, you always say it's the next best thing. Like, it's always.
And I believe that every time I say it.
I'm like, but I truly.
That's how it works. I get better at my job too. You're
I
welcome.
continue to improve. And but the thing is, we've never had this many people work this hard on anything ever.
Right.
Because we've never had this much help.
Right. If you've truly been wondering how to make the pivot to a life first business in your service-based business, whether you're a consultant or a freelancer, an industry expert, you work on retainer or one and done with your clients, that part doesn't matter. If you have the desire to really soar past the income and time ceiling that you found yourself stuck in, and you just want to understand what are some alternatives for you, what are some options that you could take if you so to pick up and choose them, then it's the best way truly and the least expensive way for you to work with us. It's the best way for you to understand what it's like, what the results that we get, the framework that we follow, and there's going to absolutely be actionable steps and lessons and takeaways from some kick-ass clients, from us. It's going to truly be a really, really amazing day, and I want you there.
Yeah, bossproject.com/conference. Now, 2 other things to kind of follow that up. If you haven't checked out, we recently rebooted our YouTube channel. And if you love listening to the podcast,
you want to see our shining faces right now.
If you've ever wondered, like, because we're like, oh, you should see my hands right now, or you should see my face right now.
I'm doing even more hand gestures for you.
If you want to get in on that, then YouTube might be your new favorite thing.
If you want to see how much coffee I drink during an episode.
Yeah, I'm like slurping down a 32-ounce water.
If drinking sound effects don't bother you, welcome.
Welcome. I won't eat live on video.
I won't eat. Yeah, we are nothing but professional.
I do occasionally do that on a coaching call, but I won't do that.
Sometimes I come to coaching, I'm like, yo, I'm starving. I've got to eat this cheese stick right now.
I gotta eat right now. Anyway.
Are you ready to dive in?
If you go to our YouTube channel, we're at Boss Project. Definitely subscribe. You can get notifications on there and see some of what we're talking about over there.
If something resonates with you, share it with someone that you love.
Also, if something resonates with you, we want to hear from you. Yes. So please send us a DM about this episode or any other episode, or if there's a content that like struck you, or an email that you read and you're like, damn, I just like really want to dig into that.
Or what's your favorite coffee drink? I want to hear about that too. I always love new coffee orders. I shared a good one on my Instagram the other day, and it's delicious.
Well, please send us a DM over at Boss Project on Instagram. If you
want a recipe for my favorite coffee drink right now, you need to send us a DM at Boss Project.
You can talk to one of us, a member of our team, or our client concierge, Katie. We would just love to dig in with you and hear more about what you got going on in your world and in your business. All
right. Now I want to point out all the mistakes that are happening in your positioning, in your service-based business.
So many mistakes. And
we're just talking about 7 of them today. There are more than 7, but these are the ones that we really like.
These are 7 you need to hear about. And then when you are ready to dig into more of the toxic traits and behaviors, then the conference is going to be where you need to go next.
Yes. And we're not going to be able to cover all of the solutions to these mistakes today. No. That's not what this episode is for. That's what the conference is for, and inside the incubator. So if you want to know how to get past these, send us a DM truly, and we can like brainstorm with you and really like make sure you're going to the right place to get that information.
Point out some things.
Yes. So I want to start the conversation here, and then we can take it further. So we have 7 that we want to cover today. I'm just going to dive right into the first one. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Not the number 1. This is in no particular order. Order we're sharing them with you today. But one of the like super critical positioning mistakes that I think service-based business owners are making, especially right now, is not positioning themselves and holding firm in their stance that they are a freaking GD expert.
I know. I don't know when, well, I know when you were told your whole life that you like need a fancy degree or a certificate or some certification to prove
Now, some of those things are true. Some certification for some things are true. I'm in the camp of like, you don't call yourself a coach just because you want to call yourself a coach.
Oh,
So I can
100%.
get there if you want to have that conversation. But baby, you've been getting results for some people, and this time you talk about it.
No, for sure. For sure. And I think you forget that your experience adds up to something.
Yes.
And the work you've done adds up to something. Now, if you're going to go cut somebody's body open and do surgery on them, you best believe I want you to have an education.
If you're going to do someone's finances or taxes or provide, there are things that we're not, this is past the basic level of education. I'm going to assume that you already have that. Why? Because you're the expert.
Right. We're going to assume you got the degree and then some. But we also just, I see people walking around with MBAs and PhDs and 20 years of experience and still feeling like an imposter in their industry. And I'm like,
what's bananas to me is the amount of clients that we work with where they feel really new at business because maybe they are really new at business.
That I get. Yeah.
But they're like, oh, but I've been doing this for like 27 years for this.
You really, I know sometimes especially if you did this like in corporate or in another position and then you decided to do it for yourself, it can feel like you're new, but like, girl, you're not. So
it's just 2.0 you.
It's different. And there are absolutely things that you don't know.
Yeah.
And we can acknowledge.
But guess who knows them?
We do.
I
mean, we don't know all the things, but we do know a few things about running a business. We've been doing this a while. We made a lot of mistakes, and I want to set you up for success.
And it is your benefit that we've made those mistakes.
Absolutely.
So you might as well take advantage of it.
I know. Avoid my history. We just really want to set you up for success. And another way to set you up for success is I see this mistake happening a lot where, and I feel like it's always coming from a good place. You guys always come from a good place. You have good intentions, but you like wrap your head around that your service has to be a certain way for whatever reason. You guys have a million excuses, by the way. I love you, but you have so many excuses. But you're not solving the whole problem.
Well, and this is what I'm seeing is like and this is the conversation where we've had in a previous episode where we've talked about our done for you services going extinct. And I think that this is one of the critical ways that people are implementing this mistake is they're pivoting away from the done for you services and they're offering the surface level, like you talked about in that episode, of the surface level solution to the problem instead of, because they want to do it to the masses and they think that like that's going to make them more money or save them more time, when in reality, the deeper you go to serve that problem holistically for your client, the more impact you're going to have, the deeper results you're going to have, the more that you can charge, the better relationships you're going to have. What I'm not saying is you need to solve all of the problems.
No,
don't read that.
No, yeah. So this is not. So I see some of you. No, this is the other mistake, is you're like making it so general that like you're trying to solve every problem your client has, rather than the one they actually want solved, or the one that's like really bothering them, or the one that's really going to make an impact for them. And you're surface leveling everything. And a lot of this comes down to you're like letting them pick and choose a la carte items, and they're like letting them kind of define their own path when damn straight they don't know what they need. So stop.
Why don't they know? Because they're not the expert.
Right. They're not.
And you are.
So let's think about what is your client's actual issue and how can your service provide the whole solution?
How can they serve it from start to finish?
The whole solution.
The whole solution.
And it's hard. And it's hard to like define lines. I get that. But like, let's not dance around it. Oh, totally.
Okay, so going into the next mistake, overcomplicating it, adding unnecessary pieces, looking at your process and being like, well, I obviously have to do this or it wouldn't work because it needs to be beefed up. It needs to look more valuable. It needs to look more expensive if I'm going to charge that place. It's this space of needing to justify, and it's typically around justifying the price.
I think it's mostly about justifying price. Absolutely. I think it's a lot of like fluffy things.
Yes.
Fluffy
But
fluffy.
again, it doesn't go back to solving the whole problem. It's
Right.
surface level fluff for the sake of adding extra shit.
It sounds good in theory, but it's not really doing a lot, or like they're not even utilizing it.
Yeah.
I could give some examples, but I feel like it would potentially throw some people under the bus. So I'm
Well,
not
the one
gonna.
example I'll give that like most people have done this is a tangible thing for you to start thinking about in your own process is okay, you have say you're offering whatever solution to your clients and you're looking at your package and there's like clear deliverables or whatever, and the number one thing that people like to throw in there to beef up the value is more of
Oh,
their time and
yeah, more
access to
calls.
you
More
with more
calls.
calls or like really long calls. I've seen this
Yeah.
too, where there's either a lot of calls throughout, it's typically in like retainer packages. So, like every month, you just get like a call every week or something like that. Or you get 3 calls that are 3 hours long. And I'm like, that just, no one wants that.
No.
If it's not effective and if it's not actually like helping solve the problem, no one wants that.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely spend a lot of our time, but like it's anyway, I could get into why I think that's different, but you really have to be mindful of when is this overkill and like when
Mhm,
is this
mhm.
not aiding in
Well, and because a
results.
direct consequence of especially adding more of your time that happens is you are literally creating a container for scope creep.
Yes, you're giving them the opportunity to suck you dry.
Yep.
It's like, "Oh, let me just like
Let
why
me ask
am I."
how else I can help you.
Yeah, you're giving them all this opportunity to allow you to like give everything away, and that's just
Mhm.
not the point. So
Nope.
the point is you're solving the problem that they hired you to do. If they want other problems solved, then they can hire you to solve the next problem, but we need to be clear on what the start and stop of that looks like,
Yep.
which is like a whole nother mistake, but that wasn't technically on the list. Now, in the same vein, if we're not solving the whole problem, one of the other common mistakes is not being actually clear on the solution or how you're solving it, and you're really just vague as fuck.
Yep.
You're like and it's not usually, because I think some people are like, "Oh, but I know what my deliverables are. Like,
Right.
I know what they get."
Well, and that's the number one question I feel like our clients ask us is like, okay, but when can I share the deliverables? Okay, but when do I show them this? And then can I also share here? And I'm like, I cannot emphasize more that they don't give a shit.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
They don't care how you get to the problem. They just want you to fucking solve it. So
Mhm.
what are you doing to solve it?
What are you
You
doing to
need to
solve it?
know.
You need to know. You need to know what tangibly it takes to get there. You need to know what deliverables it takes to get there. But you need to be really clear on what you're actually solving. Like
Mhm,
what is the solution?
mhm.
What do they need from you?
If they're
And
at point A, what does point B look like?
yeah, and then you can work backwards on how you get there. But like most of you have this really, you're just like so focused on the steps that you're not like clear on the destination.
Right,
And so
right.
like how can we get clear on the destination?
I want you to identify Z first and what does done mean and look like, and then work backwards to fill in the
Well,
gap.
and but the cool part is when you're really, really clear on what that solution is and where they're going to be, then you have a success metric that you can,
Mhm,
your clients not only know when they got there, but
mhm.
you also know when your clients got there. And so
And
you're
so
going
what
to be
does
able
that
to,
tell you? When you're done.
when you're done, when you're done.
Yeah, raise your virtual hand if you have the clients where it feels like it's literally never ending.
Oh, I felt so bad. We have this client who's just struggling with scope creep so hard, and it's because the solution wasn't clear,
Yeah.
and it's not necessarily the deliverables. You can define the deliverables, but if you're not clear on like what that stopping point is, then your your nature, because you care, is to compensate. And so
Yeah.
like you're like, oh well, I think I need to add this or like tweak
Mhm.
this or do this or whatever, because you think that's going to inch them closer, and then if you can get them closer, then you'll just be done.
Yeah.
Like it's you're just waiting for that sigh of relief.
Yep.
And I promise you, if you start here
Yeah.
instead of like claw your way to there eventually, you're going to have a much more clear roadmap, and your clients are going to be happier because they're going to know what they're getting.
Yeah.
But it's interesting.
And they also want to feel done.
Right. I have several consultants and service providers that are not clear at all on their deliverables.
Like that we work with.
Like I literally pay them all the time.
If you're listening, it's probably about you.
But I literally don't care because I'm so clear on how they're going to help me solve the problem.
Right.
And when I can call on them to help solve it.
Yeah.
And so I think, well, I definitely would love to have a conversation with them about clearing some of that up. But like, I think you'd be surprised that as long as you're clear on how you help, how you show up, like what
it can look
in your
different.
wheelhouse,
Yeah.
and what isn't,
yes.
then it makes it so much easier to work with your clients.
Yeah. Which bleeds into my next mistake, which is it's my favorite mistake because it's my favorite thing to help people start to do in their business.
Like literally, if you just changed this.
Yes.
I think you would be shocked
how
the quality of your clients go up.
This is the thing I changed when I was on my own doing a service-based business. This was one of the biggest elements I changed that drastically increased the quality of my clients, how much they paid me, how happy they were, how happy I was to serve them. You ready for it? I'm going to tell you.
Oh, it's easy, guys. Easy.
It's so easy.
You ready?
The mistake is not telling your clients what they freaking need.
Yeah.
Sounds simple, but it's about boundaries and communication that so many people suck at.
Yeah. Like what would happen if you walked into a pitch meeting? I don't care what this pitch looks like. I don't care if it's a Zoom call. I don't care if it's a DM. I don't care if it's
a coffee
in-person coffee. It doesn't matter. But if you walk into that room and you're like, tell me about what you need. Oh my God, this is not going to go well. You have got to be like, you know what? I heard you. I heard you say this, this, and this. And I'm
based on this.
Based on this is how I think I can, this is what I can do for you. Based on this, I can't wait until we get to this stage because this is what your life is going to look like. I swear to you, it's like the clouds open up and it's like a sunny day and your client's like, oh, damn. It's like you read my mind. It's like, you know what I need. It's because you do.
You do. Why? Because you're the expert.
You're the expert. You already knew what they needed the whole time. And you're just scared to tell them the truth.
You think they want options, and I'm here to tell you that they don't.
No. Okay. If you go to a high-end restaurant, do you know how much smaller the menu is?
The menu is smaller. It gets
smaller. Some places you don't even get to choose.
Sit down and try it.
You just sit down and you're here for the experience.
Some places turn the lights off. Like, did you see that? One of our teammates shared this thing that's coming to her city. It's like this immersive dining experience. And it's
in the dark.
I just read the first like 2 sentences and it was immediate no for me. Because it was like, imagine you walk into a pitch black room. I'm like, nope, I'm out. I'm already out. Like, you sit down to taste that. I'm out. No, we're eating in this pitch black room. I'm out twice. I don't want any part of that.
But for your ideal
client, it's like for your service.
but it could be right for some of your clients. So like, but I just think it's so shocking to me what happens when you open up this world and you're really clear on, because you're clear on the problem, because you're clear on the solution, you can paint this picture of what life is like, and you can tell them exactly what they need and why you are the reason they need it. And then like, they're like, oh, damn, you're right. Okay, where do I sign? Okay,
great. That sounds great. You clearly know what I need to get this problem solved. So cool. Sounds great.
So our garage door is being a bitch and it wouldn't close. Like, I mean, it would close, but then immediately hit the ground and bounce back up. And my husband was losing his mind. He was like, It could be the bill. It could be this. It could be that. It could be, and I'm like, just call a person, call
Yeah.
an expert, call a
Yeah.
garage door
You are not
guy.
an expert in garage doors.
And he came out, and within 90 seconds, he knew what's exactly wrong with it. And he's like, here's what's wrong with it. Here's how I'm going to solve the problem. Here's what I'm going to do. And my husband was like annoyed because it was like so simple. He's like, well, damn, I could have just done that. I was like, no, you couldn't, because you
No,
didn't
you
have
couldn't.
15 years of experience, 20
Right.
years of experience looking at freaking garage doors.
Exactly.
Like, and so I know that seems like an extreme example, but it's not. Like, these people, it is such a foreign concept to them that they're like, maybe they are mechanical or logical or creative, or I mean, what the fuck ever, like traits you consider about yourself, but that doesn't mean they're an expert in your field.
Exactly.
And so it could be a simple solution that maybe they could even do themselves, but they don't want to, because they want to hire you.
Impact.
Anyway,
of that problem being solved.
I'm just saying.
It's my favorite one.
It's really the easiest one, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. Yep.
Okay. Now, if we're talking about your time and where you're spending it and what you're doing or not doing, you guys are not putting your CEO hat on enough. You are not putting your owner hat on enough.
Those are two different hats. Spoiler alert. I just learned that lesson this year. Congratulations.
They are not the same thing.
Founder and CEO hat, two different hats.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're in different cupboards. You gotta go find them.
You gotta go hunt them down. No, but seriously, I'm nervous about for you is that you live so much in the doing the work that, like, you're not thinking about what the future of your company looks like.
Because there was a time and space when you doing the work was what paid your bills and the only thing that paid your bills, right? And I get that. It's time to grow.
Yeah. And I feel like growth doesn't have to look the same on everybody.
No.
So, like, I think there's this myth that it's like, oh, well, if I'm not doing it, then, like, I clearly have this whole team that's doing every aspect for me. No, not necessarily.
No.
Well, if I'm not doing it, then my business is like ginormous and it's way bigger than I want it to be, and I want to keep it small. Not necessarily.
Or you want to hire a CEO?
Oh God, please don't.
I wish everyone who's not on YouTube can't see my face right now.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Because they just don't have the stake. They don't have the anyway.
That's a whole separate conversation.
It's a whole separate conversation. But, like, the thing is, you doing the work, you being the designer, the writer, the photographer, the human resources expert, the financial person, like, regardless of your expertise, you have to also sit in the CEO spot, which it can be when you're running a quote unquote small business or a service-based business. If you consider yourself a creative entrepreneur, it's really easy to be like, I don't even know what the fuck that is. Like, I'm creative. So, like, what is, okay, first of all, the chief executive officer in a bigger business, maybe one that's outside of what you're doing, their main purpose is executing the vision of the company, but they are also mindful of risk mitigation. They are overseeing operations. They're overseeing how the parts and pieces all fit together. They are aware of every aspect of what's going on, and they are making the strategic decisions in the business to move it forward. And if you're not also doing that, you're likely ignoring a lot of the business operations required for you to go into a new phase.
Yep. That will make your life easier if you sit in those seats.
Yeah, I don't know why people, I get it.
I know why. Yeah.
I know why, because it's intimidating. You're like, I did this for years. Like, I don't know how to be a CEO. I know you don't. I know you don't. Most people don't. You don't go to school to be a CEO. I mean, you can try, but, like, that's not
No.
It's about experience. It's about
experience position more than anything.
you have to go through the trenches and you have to learn the lessons or witness them or hear about them or read about them or be willing to absorb the things. But at the end of the day, like, it's not a natural born thing. And
No.
so I want you to be mindful that you have got to be intentional about what your future looks like. Even if it's literally as simple as I want to go from working 40 hours a week to 30 hours a week.
Yeah.
Like if that's literally your only goal, but maybe you want to make a little more, but not a lot more. Okay. Maybe you want to make a lot more, but you don't want to hire a huge staff. Okay. Like maybe you want to hire a huge staff. Literally, that's part of the job.
Yeah.
You have to decide those things.
Yep.
And you get to change your mind. Anyway.
Mm-hmm. That could be a whole thing.
Anyway.
But we'll help you figure out what your CEO day looks like and how to get more of that time back. That's actually one of the first things that we help our clients with is this utilization and understanding where's your time actually going and how can you get more time of it to give to your CEO hat. Because it's not just an easy like, oh, start doing it. Okay, that's not how that works. So we'll help you figure it out.
You gotta practice.
Okay, so let's go into this last mistake. And the last mistake is, drumroll please, one we've continued to make and have had to adjust many times, which is why we're sharing it with you. And it's looking outside yourself for validation as you go growing your business, as you're implementing strategies, as you're deciding what growth looks like to you, what goals look like to you, and thinking everyone else not only has all the answers that you're just missing, but also that they have the right way that you should model.
Like they have the cheat code. It's like you think they have the cheat code. Like I don't know why I like think of like a Game Boy or a Sega like back in the day, and you're like gather cheat codes to like skip levels and blah blah blah.
Oh yeah, get like, unlimited funds on Sims.
Exactly, and no one else has that for you or for your business. Now, can you align yourself with strategic experts to enhance your experience or to skip through phases? Yes. Yeah. Can you like speed past a phase because you align yourself with someone? Yes. But the validation specifically, you got to stop it. You got to stop it. And I'm telling this to myself too, because I promise you, as a woman, I've been taught my whole life that I'm supposed to ask for a man's approval, and that sucks. But why? like, if you own the business, you own the equity stake, you own the risk, you own the consequences, you own the potential, you own the growth, you own all the things. Mm-hmm. And I think we forget that. Sure, we can ask opinions, we can get people's input, we can hear what people have to say, we can think about all the things, but when it comes down to like making the decision, making your next choice, it has to come from you.
You've gotten yourself really far. Like I'm super proud of you. I hope you're proud of yourself, and I need you to know that yes, while you might need to explore guidance and resources, you have the innate ability inside of you already to get you to where you want to go. Part of that innate ability is being resourceful. Yes. But you have that already.
You're resourceful, which means you might need resources. You might need people. You might need a coach. You might need a group program. You might still need those staff. But it doesn't mean that the inevitable they will solve the things. Like you still have to pick and choose. And sometimes it means learning a whole new thing and like taking 10% of it, taking 20% of it, taking this little golden nugget and allowing yourself to find the things that are going to enhance your experience. And not being, I don't know why we're convinced that we have to get everything out of everything, because that's just not true. Like you buy other things or spend your time all the time for like, okay, you buy a frozen pizza for convenience to feed yourself.
Well, that pizza not that great.
It's like, okay, I mean, it gets you through.
But it served you
in
the
that
way that
moment.
it did.
Yeah, exactly. So like,
Mhm.
I just think people think every choice you make has to be of equal value and you have to like love every inch of it. But no, it's like we do this in every other aspect of our life, but somehow in our business, like we're scared to like make choices to get us through the next 2 weeks or the next 2 months, or um it's just not like that.
Mhm.
It comes from within and you get to choose, and I love that for you because I'm so over this prescriptive do this, do this, do this, do this, or it's not going to work. I
Right.
mean, I'm going to show you a path. I'm going to show you a framework. I'm going to show you ideas that you can implement. But the people that see the most success are willing to choose the 10 or 15%. They're willing to look at the whole framework and identify the things that are really going to impact them.
Yep.
They're not implementing every little thing I say.
Right. No one has time for that. We say a lot of things. Have
Have
you
you
listened to
listened to
the show?
622 episodes? P.S. To the girl who decided to start at the beginning. If you,
Reverse, reverse. She won't listen to this for like 2 more years.
I know. So I'm if you listen to the show regularly, this is me telling you right now, you do not have to listen to every episode. Like,
Start at the end and go backwards. Pick and choose. It's
pick and
fine.
choose, pick and choose, pick and choose. Okay.
Well,
Truly.
I'm super excited for the revolution that can start to happen in your business, and I would love to support you in every way that I know how, and the best way that we show up in our own expertise. I'm fully confident that while maybe you're not making every single one of these mistakes to the like extreme that we've talked
Sure.
about today, I'm sure that they've come up on some level. And if there's one of these that really resonated with you that you're like, I definitely struggle with that one, I would love to hear about it on Instagram. Go send us a DM. Tell us 1 through 7, which one was it? And I would love to workshop with you literally in Instagram on what are the options like if we change that, and if we really pay attention to tweaking it, what could open up for you. And right after you do that, go snag your ticket to the Freedom Conference.
Bossproject.com/conference.